Hi everyone, it's Nick. Welcome back to my channel. Okay, in today's video, we are doing 20 living room interior design mistakes in 20 minutes. Now I'm gonna put myself under a time crunch here, which I'm not really good at because let's be honest, I am a talker. I don't have a lot of skills in life, but I am a talker and it's one thing I'm really good at. So to all the high school teachers that said, Nick, you can't talk your way out of everything in life, joke's on you, Mrs. Akers, because I made a career out of it. I'm a talker and I tend to be a little long-winded. The timer hasn't started yet, okay? So I'm allowed to just ramble for a bit. Okay, first up is going to be your TV is hung too high. So this is a very, very common mistake, especially if you're hanging it above the fireplace. Now, it's very controversial. Do you hang a TV over a fireplace? A lot of people hate the look. A lot of people like it. Pro of doing it, one focal point. You got the fireplace in the center and you got the TV above it. You create one focal point in the center of the living room. That can be a really wonderful thing. A lot of people hate it because if you have one of these huge fireplaces, it's gonna be too high. Basically, the tip here is if your fireplace is really high, don't hang it there. Don't hang it there. It's just not gonna work, okay? If you're sitting there like this to look up at your television every night, it's not gonna strain your neck and it's not gonna be comfortable, so don't do it. Have a media console, put it on a different wall, or if you have a really low fireplace, I do believe it can work, but really this is just going over eye level to make sure it's right above eye level for most people when they're sitting on the couch. That's tip number one. Don't hang it too high. I've seen some crazy places where people put their TVs. Hey, next up, rug is too small. Okay, tip for rugs, okay, let's make it really easy. Yes, you can layer a couple of rugs, but I don't have time. We are on time constraint. You got two options here for the rug, okay? Your rug, it shouldn't carpet the room. If your rug is too big, it's gonna look weird, okay? So don't carpet the entire room. Get an appropriately sized rug that doesn't, where you can still see hardwood or whatever you've got, laminate, vinyl, whatever, outside of it, that's fine. But all your furniture pieces, your side chairs, your coffee table, and your sofa, the front two legs should be on it, or all the legs should be on it. Now, all the legs, again, is a really grand look, because if you've got your whole living room set on there, and it's on the rug, and you've got all the legs on there, and you've got additional space beyond that rug to be able to not carpet the room, like I said, then go ahead and put all the legs on there. That can work, but you don't have to. If you're in a smaller living room, or you got, your own apartment or a smaller place or whatever, just go with the front two legs. It'll look a lot better. That is the appropriate size rug for your living room. Next up, no room for drinks. No space that's allocated for drinks. Keep in mind how people are functionally going to be using the living room, okay? So, make sure that every chair and every living room, think it through to make sure that every ottoman, whatever, has a space for people to put their drinks or to eat or whatever. If someone comes to your house and they don't know what to do and they end up putting it on the floor, it's not practical and functional for what people are going to be using the living room for. That is oftentimes going to be the coffee table in the center of the room. If you choose to put something like an ottoman, could be a fabric ottoman, something like that, that is a choice. You are welcome to do that. Just make sure that you have those end tables and side tables so people can practically use the living room for what it's there for, which is conversing, and yes, have a little bevy. Tip number 4, or mistake number 4, is going to be no variation in your color palette. This is very, very common, and I get it. You saw my video on how to make a home cohesive. Wonderful, fabulous, I love that for you, but unfortunately you missed the one on color palette. And the reason I say that is because, yes, choosing that exact shade of blue, that exact shade of yellow can be really great in terms of like incorporating in some cohesion. So the eye is drawn to all the different color choices that you have in the room, but you're gonna wanna play with those different tints, tones, and shades within that color choice to make sure that it's well blended and well incorporated. So we're not just choosing orange, we maybe are using browns that have sort of an orangey undertone to it, right? Or you're using maybe whites with a little bit of a creamy or a warm undertone to it. You don't just have to pick that one color orange. You can choose all the different ranges of colors that are within orange. And you don't just have to select one color too. You don't have to just be drawn to that teal pillow and then have everything teal in your place. You can choose teal, choose all the different tints, tones, and shades of that color teal, or slight variations of it. And you can also incorporate blue or green or yellow or make it your own. But don't just choose the same color. It's really amateur in my opinion. And then just replicate it all around the space. Use all the different options within that primary hue. Mistake number 5 is gonna be matching furniture sets. I know the lady at Ashley Furniture, she told you that it was the right thing to do and she was wrong. She lied to you. I hate to be the one to tell you that. Actually, I enjoy being the one to tell you that because again, I made a career off of it, but she was lying to you. She was just trying to get that commission. I'm sorry to tell you, she just really realized that selling you one chair is great, but selling you a whole set with the couch and the coffee table and everything, and you got the media console and the little she just decided that was a really good idea for her commission for the day. It's not great for you. We're looking for siblings, not twins. That's the way to look at it, right? I think it's best to find pieces that maybe match in style, color, texture, whatever, but not necessarily twins where they're the exact same. Yes, there can be times when that repetition can be a wonderful thing. Let's say you've got two side chairs next to each other with a coffee table and you've got a couch next to it. Those two side chairs being right next to each other can be the same. Just make sure that you don't also have the sofa being the same thing. So that might be similar in texture. It might be a similar style. Maybe it's a mid-century modern two chairs and you're gonna choose a mid-century modern sofa to go along with it, right? So you're kind of incorporating different ways that you can connect these different pieces together without always being the exact same. Tip number 6, don't always push all your furniture against the wall. I grew up in that house too, okay? I was there in the 90s, right? Where we had one sofa way on one end and then one sofa way on the other and people had to holler to each other. Actually, that's a lie. We never used the living room. We weren't allowed in there, right? It was for formal once a year, Christmas only. That was the entire room was only used like once a year. But you know, I get it. We all did the push the furniture against the wall thing. Here's what we're actually trying to do. And this is where that rug tip comes in handy. Trying to create a space where people converse with each other. That's the primary function of what you're trying to do in your living room. Yes, you want to make sure the TV is accessible because let's be honest, we're all sitting there watching Stranger Things. Can't wait for the new season. I get it. But it's primarily also going to be used for people to actually converse and, you know, like interact with each other. What a concept, right? So having a space for people to functionally use the space, speak to each other in a really, you know, great natural way where there's like a good distance from each other where they can share food and they can share drinks and share good times. And that's really what it's there for. And if everything is pushed up against the wall, you're not pushing it or pulling it away from the walls and actually into sort of a coordinated space that is built for people to actually converse. Okay, mistake number 7 is just going to be uncomfortable furniture or furniture that isn't practical or accessible for your guests or everybody that's going to be using them. So I get it. The low furniture thing is super, super trendy. That's very popular in a lot of contemporary spaces to have really, really low furniture. I get it. It's wonderful. It's kind of can give you something Japan-y and it can just be, you know, obviously really beautiful. And you see all these really gorgeous low sofas and it's really wonderful. And they can be, and I'm not saying don't get one, but keep in mind that not everybody has your like 28-year-old knees. A lot of people are like 60 and might find it really difficult to get in and out of those. And you want to make sure that you have a variety of different chairs and seating options for people to use. And just some chairs are just like flat out uncomfortable. Like, you know, as I said, the Togo sofa, a little bit easy, hard to get kind of in and out of, just are really just uncomfortable. Like they're just not fun to sit in. So make sure, yes, I love shopping online as well. Just really double check that return policy and be prepared to actually return items online, which is really annoying when it comes to furniture. Have the mental space that that might just happen for you because there's nothing worse than being stuck with something that's just really uncomfortable. You just hate using it, right? You sit on it and your knees just don't work where your feet are on the floor properly. It's just not built for your body or it's not built for your guest's body as well, right? Taking into account, again, that accessibility from lots of different people that might not necessarily be able to use some of those really uncomfortable pieces. Mistake number 8 is holding on to items you don't like, okay? Oh, we all do this. This can be a couple of reasons, right? Well, a few reasons. One, your tastes change. That's natural. Things happen, okay? I get it. I've got a lot of things that I didn't like. A lot of things have come and gone. Nick 10 years ago does not buy the same thing as Nick's now. We all are taking into account trends. We're all changing with the times. We're changing as people and our needs change and our wants change, and that's totally fine. Don't just hang on to stuff that's there just because you liked it 10 years ago if you don't like it now. Also, some things are bad memories. Maybe you shared it with an ex. Maybe it was gifted to you by somebody you don't like anymore. That's cool. Why are you holding on to it? You know what I mean? Like, why? If you like it and you can separate the person from the item, cool. If you can't, get rid of it. And I would say the third thing is just sometimes things don't fit the way that they did in previous spaces. So maybe you had something and it worked really, really, really well in your last apartment, but now you've moved into a house and your house is bigger and now the scale is off and now it's way too small. And you're like, but I really liked it. I still love it. What do I do? Sometimes it served its purpose and now it's time to move on to Facebook Marketplace to somebody else to enjoy. And that's totally okay. It worked then, it doesn't work now. Move on. I'm not going to make you like it. This happens all the time. People are like, Nick, I don't like this sofa. Can you make my apartment look great? No, I'm not a magician. I can't make your sofa better. You don't like it? Move on. Mistake number 9 is too much open storage. Is there a Nick Lewis video that doesn't talk about open storage or mismatch lighting? We'll get to that one in a second. No, there is not, because I talk about it all the time. Because too much open storage, here's the problem with it. It just is always gonna make your place look cluttered. It really just always is. So I'm not saying no open storage. Just use open storage for what it's meant for. Use it for displaying items that you love. That's what it's there for. It's not meant to store, right? You're not meant to store your ugly crap. That is meant to go in baskets. That's meant to go in drawers. That's meant to go in closed areas that are, you know, kept for when you need them, because you do need them and not everything has to be attractive. But if you do have some open storage, make sure to style it beautifully so that it looks good in your space and that it has some breathing space rather than just a cluttered hodgepodge of all your crap that you've accumulated over the years. Okay, mistake number 10 is not visualizing your space or using tools to visualize your space. So 3 things I think that are really interesting that no one really ever does, because everybody just likes to go to Home Goods and going like, that's cute, bring it home and realize it's not the right size, right? We've all done it. It happens all the time. 3 things that I think you should do to visualize. Good, better, best, or like easy, not so easy, and like not easy at all. Okay, so we got a few different options. Okay, 1, draw it on a piece of paper. Just sit there and draw it out. Maybe, you know, get out get your scissors there and like create a little mock-ups and like just draw something relatively to scale, use your best judgment, okay? And realize if something's actually going to fit in your space. It's a lot easier to, you're gonna be like, that's painstaking, Nick, to sit there with a construction paper. I'm not 5, I don't wanna do this as a craft project. I hear you, I get you, but you know what's really annoying? Bringing in a sofa, have it be too big and having to bring that sofa back. That's not gonna work, right? So that sucks. Use that as a tool to be able to visualize if your space is going to work for that size. Next level up in difficulty, literally build something. Literally build or section off with painter's tape or build it out of like construction. Actually, I've built a little coffee table, like not fancy, but just like with cardboard, just like a rough idea of what my coffee table is gonna look like to see its presence in the living room, to see if it would make sense. And then third, pay somebody on Fiverr or something. This isn't sponsored, but just like pay somebody or whatever, or if you can do it yourself, fantastic, and get something rendered. If you really are doing a whole thing, like a whole renovation, or we haven't talked about kitchen yet, but like if you are doing that and you're doing a whole thing, consider just rendering it. And you can get beautiful 3D renders relatively easily. Yes, it's gonna cost you some money and some time, but you actually get to see. I find so often people struggle with visualization. Nick, I see what you're saying and I like all this stuff, I just don't know how it's gonna come together. Get it rendered, and then you'll actually be able to see it. Okay, next up is TV is too big for the media console. So, sometimes it's balancing on a Kallax unit, and we got this, the TVs are getting bigger, but I don't feel like the media consoles always are. You know what I mean? Those are like really small, and it just looks like it's out of proportion because you got this big 60-inch television over top of a tiny Kallax unit that you got at IKEA. And then you're like, why doesn't it look good? Okay, here's the thing. The media console should be at least the same size as the television, if not larger. And I personally like to think that the TV should be around 2/3 to 3/4 of the size of the media console. It just looks more proportional that way. That's also true, by the way, for art sitting above a bar cabinet or something, for example, right? Look for that kind of 2/3 rule. Again, it's more art than science in a way, but it's a little bit science. Do you know what I mean? Like get it 2/3 roughly or 3/4 of the size, and it'll look so much more proportional. Get a larger TV unit that's gonna make sense for the TV, that's gonna be roughly 2/3 the size of it above. Next up is not having a lighting plan. So make sure that you don't just have that one light, that boob light in the center of the room doing all the heavy lifting. It's not doing a good job, obviously, because it's a boob light. But even still, even if you just have one nice light in the center of the room, it's not doing enough. Having some artificial light sources is going to really help you. Lamps, floor lamps, table lamps, accent lighting, lighting over top of your art, LED lighting strips under a valance or something, under cabinetry. There's so many different lighting options that are out there, and it will all do a much better job at being able to light your space. So you've got task lighting so that you're able to, say, have a floor lamp next to your couch so that you're able to read a book or something, so you're able to accomplish that task. Accent lighting over top of an art piece, like I said. Ambient lighting that makes sense just to light the room. That one light ain't doing a great job. You're gonna wanna make sure you incorporate all those lighting pieces together in your lighting plan. And next tip, of course, mistake, is going to be mismatch lighting temperature. You know all those lights I just talked about? Please make sure that they are the same lighting temperature. Do not give me daylight garage lighting sitting next to warm, inviting candle lighting, whatever. You know, like that warm glow next to that grating white is not gonna ever look good. It's gonna give people a headache. No matter what you do in the rest of your space, no matter how great and gorgeous the rest of your furniture is, it will look awful because we're not meant to have multiple lighting temperatures all ricocheting off of your room and your living room and destroying your senses. Okay, it's too much, it's too much. Stick to one lighting temperature. I don't super care what it is. It should be warmer than you probably think. Probably not the garage lighting, definitely not the garage lighting. Pick a lighting temperature and be consistent throughout the space. Okay, next up is gonna be forgetting about smell. Smells, it's one of the senses, and it's the one in design that we oftentimes forget about. Listen, if people are sensitive to smells, I get it. If you don't wanna put in the strawberry cheesecake blast from Bath & Body Works, because that's not gonna work for you for that triple can, I get it. They got the 3-wick candle, it's on sale, they're like $10, I understand. It was a steal of a deal and you picked it up. But you know what? Sometimes those candles are really overwhelming for people and they're a little sickly sweet and people don't really love them. So obviously, you know, your mileage may vary in terms of how you sort of choose to make your place smell good. You can use essential oils, you can use baked cookies, you can, remember that old realtor trick? I've been to tons of open houses again, and I've like never got a cookie, which is kind of still pissing me off. But anyway, do what you need to do to make your place smell nice. It could come from candles, as I said. It can come from aromatherapies or whatever you've got going on. There may be a little diffuser going off in the corner there. How lovely is that? Lots of options. I'm gonna link to my favorite candle that I got from Amazon that I still buy all the time because it's my personal fave. I'll link it down below, affiliate link there for you. But like, honestly, whatever you need to do. Even if you love the strawberry cheesecake blast, go for that one too. Just don't forget about smell. It's a sense that people forget about all the time in their living room. Next up is not having any vignettes. So what is a vignette? A vignette is really just kind of like a moment that creating sort of a mood in your space. It's creating something really beautiful just in sort of like kind of a moment. I always think of it like a camera lens, like looking at a camera lens in a moment of your living room. So whether that's a bar cabinet with an art piece above it, or whether that's your media console that you've styled in the corner, whether that's like kind of a shelving unit that you've styled, or your coffee table, just these little moments that sort of tell a little bit of a story. And I'm gonna throw up here some options of some visuals to kind of help you understand that those are really just sort of interesting vignettes. And a lot of people sort of forget to have them. Create these little moments that make sense. A little reading nook in the corner with that lovely lamp that we just talked about because you just have a great lighting plan because we talked about this. How wonderful is that with like a little side? Again, sometimes I go Ina Garten around here. Like, how fabulous is that? Your little end table and you got a little candle on the corner there with some beautiful coasters with a book. You just created a moment. That's a vignette. Create them. Next mistake is if people complain about how fast I speak normally, they're really gonna hear about it today. I'm really gonna hear about this one. Wrong furniture and size. Okay, this kind of relates back to the stuff that's not working for you anymore. I get it. You moved from a like whatever, you downsized and you like had a house and now you're in an apartment and you're like, but why does my Restoration Hardware giant massive sofa with 14 little modular pieces, why does it not work in my apartment anymore? Nick, make it work, make it fit. It doesn't fit anymore, right? It just doesn't work. And having furniture that is the wrong size is just not going to make sense for your space. It's gonna be really difficult to navigate. No one's gonna have fun there. People are gonna have to shimmy to get through that living room and it's not gonna be a good time. A functional living room is a beautiful living room. I mean, it takes a lot more to make a beautiful living room, but a dysfunctional living room is an ugly living room. Yeah, that's right. Okay, next mistake is gonna be hot spots that are blinding your guests. We're gonna go back to lighting for a second here. I see this oftentimes, especially because builders are just going crazy with the pot lights, but the little spotlights and the pot lights and things that you have in your house, really pay attention to where those spotlights are hitting because there is nothing worse than when you're invited over as a guest to someone's house and you're sitting there and you've got this spotlight that's glaring you right in the face and it's right in your eye. That is what a hot spot is. You wanna be really careful with those hot spots, especially like if it's pointed even at a wall, but it's creating like a really sort of serious light over top of a piece of art or something. Sometimes it's a bit intense. So you wanna really create something that feels a little bit more diffused or a little bit softer. And you're just gonna have to really play around with all those spotlights to make sure you don't blind people and you're not creating those hot spots on the wall. Again, if you've got lots of pot lights and more importantly, lots of spotlights, it can be really difficult to pull off. Pay attention to those. People tend to forget about them and they tend to think like, oh, this, I should light up this couch. And they pointed at the couch forgetting that someone's gonna sit on it. Okay, next up is beware impractical items, right? So those impractical items that just don't really make a whole ton of sense. Things like a white couch, things like an armless sofa, things like a shag rug. Oh, the shag rug, right? We all bought the Costco, I bought the Costco shag rug. I've talked about it on the channel before and I still regret it to this day. The amount of dust and crap that gets collected in those shag rugs is too much. It's too much. It's not worth it. It's not worth the maintenance. White furniture, I say this with a cream sofa and you're like, but Nick, you have a cream sofa and a black dog. Yeah, I'm stupid because I bought it because I wanted it and it was not the greatest decision. I understood it was impractical, but I did it anyway. At least understand where your impractical items are coming from. Stuff that's hard to clean, hard to maintain, stuff that just doesn't fit your lifestyle. Be realistic of what's gonna work for you and whether something is gonna be worth the time and the effort that's gonna take to upkeep. So beware those impractical items. I have a whole series on impractical items if you would so choose to look at them. Think through the functional use of these pieces before you bring them to the house because yes, they can be wonderful and great in theory in a showroom, but at home, they just might not work for you. Okay, tip number 19 is gonna be not having any personal touches in your space. I say this is a person who has no heart, who is long since dead and don't have any photos of loved ones in my house at all. But I do have some items that have some sentimental value to me, but that's important. Having some sort of personal items. So often, especially here in design on YouTube and stuff, we talk about like all the practical, but we forget to put the you, right? One of the best parts about design is being able to bring people into your home that actually get to experience something that is uniquely your own. You're able to create your own space, craft something that represents you or your family, assuming they have good taste. If they don't, you could ignore them. But like, if you like them and they have good taste, feel free to incorporate in, and that becomes something that you're able to share with the people that come into your home and are able to experience that. And that's a wonderful thing. But if it feels too much like a showroom, which, you know, is up to you. What you feel looks like a showroom might not be what I think looks like a showroom, but whatever looks like a showroom to you, if it doesn't have some of those little personal items, rooms, those little things that you found somewhere, you can say, oh, I bought it at that store, I thrifted it here, or it was passed down to me from here. That goes a long way. Okay, and then my 20th tip is gonna be cropped curtains. Okay, cropped curtains, don't do them. This is especially true in those like picture windows, right? Which do happen very much in living rooms where, you know, obviously not so much with a screen door or something like that. People tend to put full length curtains there. They should go above the picture window, and then they should extend all the way to the floor. These little puppet show curtains that people have over top of their little picture windows are just, they look stubby, they look weird, they're a mistake. There's no other way around it. They just never look good. So always go full length right to the floor. It's the right move, trust me. You might not believe it. You might say, no, I love these curtains. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And that's fine. You don't have to do it. It's your house. I don't live there, but it's a mistake, trust me. Okay, so that's it for me for today, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this video. This was a fun one. I was a fast talker in this one. This was good. Okay, in terms of, I talked a little bit about color in this one, and I want to throw to my color palette video that I just did a few weeks ago because I think it's really good, but nobody really watched it, and I think it's actually a good one. Go check that video out. It's fun, and you'll learn a lot more about those tints, tones, and shades that we talked about. I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye.